today raises alarm over plots to truncate the transition program, create unrest and cause declaration of state of emergency in Nigeria, leading to an interim government by some people in clandestine meetings. And tonight we speak with the Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, on the suspended planned nationwide strike and protest by labour unions over cash scarcity and fuel scarcity in the country. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimale in Abuja. There seems to be some very interesting conversation that we'll be having tonight, varying from the issues of labor agitations, the standard of living, and employment issues, and we'll be speaking one-on-one with the Minister of Labour. But before we get to do that, there was a rather disturbing message and alert sent by the Department of State Services, the plan by some persons in the country to cause unrest and destabilize the possible transition of government. And so we'll be getting to that just after we've served you with your political roundup stories.
Thank you, Sean. Hello, everyone. I'm Victoria Longjan, and here are your political roundup stories for today. President Muhammadu Buhari today swore in Mr. Solomon Arase as the new chairman of the Police Service Commission, as well as 5 new Code of Conduct bereaved board members. The former Inspector General of Police will take over as the new chairman of the Police Service Commission after the oath of office taking ceremony, which took place at the council chamber before the commencement of the Federal Executive Council meeting 2 months after the Senate confirmed him as chairperson of the PSC. The returning officer for the Abia State governorship election and vice chancellor of the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, Professor Nnenna Oti, has been speaking about her experience as a returning officer during the declaration of the Abia State governorship election results. Addressing the crowd after a rousing welcome by management, staff, and students of the Federal University of Technology, Owerri at the university premises, Professor Oti disclosed that prior to the final declaration of the result, she was promised huge money as inducement to change the will and mandate of the people of Abia State, but she remained resolute in the face of heavy intimidation and threat. Ahead of the April 15 supplementary elections in Adamawa State, some women in the state are asking the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to respect the wishes of the people. They made the call during a rally held in Yola, the Adamawa State capital, where they described a recent protest by a group known as Arewa Women at the INEC headquarters in Abuja as a group of rented crowd who have no stake in Adamawa State. Some groups and citizens from Nasarawa State want the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to review the decision of the collation and returning officer for the governorship election in the state. The groups are asking INEC to reverse to the INEC RF portal for proper recollation of the entire affected polling units in Lafia and Awe local government area results. According to the group, there was excessive use of state instruments of power of incumbency to arbitrarily dictate the allocation and inflation of votes received at the election in some wards. They are calling for proper investigation before a certificate of return is given to the candidate of the APC. Similarly, in Kaduna State, concerned citizens of the state are asking the INEC to review the results of the last governorship election in the state, as some of the results uploaded into the INEC IRF portal does not correspond with the results obtained at the polling units. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Mr. Maida Joseph alleged that the original results of more than 20 local governments were not uploaded to the INEC IRF, as the ones uploaded were fake results. A civil society organization in Ebonyi State, under the aegis of Peace for Free Initiative, is calling on youths across the country to allow democracy to grow for the benefit of all Nigerians. Addressing the youth in Abakaliki, the founder of the organization, Mr. Chris Kalu, notes that the youth of the country have increased their political participation participation for good governance in the country and urged them to embrace peace beyond the election. According to him, the 2023 general elections have generated a lot of public attention, particularly from Nigerian youth, who are remarkably increasing their political participation in the collective struggle for good governance. Ahead of the inauguration of the President-elect Senator Bola Tinubu, Nigerians Unite for Tinubu Shetima, a support group under the All Progressives Congress, are calling on Nigerians to put the elections behind them and team up with the President-elect to transform the country. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, spokesperson of the group, Mr. Suleiman Abdullahi, says the group recognizes that the election was not without challenges, but there is a need for opposition parties to desist from acts capable of truncating the nation's democracy. The group further appealed to Nigerians to uphold the peace and unity of the country in order to fast-track her development. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has presented certificates of return to some of the governors-elect in the last governorship election in some parts of the country. In Rivers State, Mr. Simnelayi Fubara, his deputy Ngozi Odu, along with the 32 members-elect of the State House of Assembly, received their certificates at an event conducted in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. In Kano State, the governor-elect, Mr. Nasiru Gawuna, has received his certificate of return from the INEC and is assuring the people of the state of developmental projects during his tenure. And Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde and his deputy have been given their certificates of return at a small ceremony at the University of Ibadan Conference Center. In his remarks after the presentation of certificates, Governor Seyi Makinde says the mandate given to him is a call to greater service to make life more abundant for people of Oyo State and a pedestal to mend fences when necessary. In Benue State, the INEC has presented certificates of return to the Benue State Governor-elect, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alea, and 32 members of the State House of Assembly. Performing the ceremony in Makurdi, a National Commissioner, Mr. Festus Okoye, tasked the recipients to move from the elective stage of the electoral process to good governance of the state and deepen democracy, which is the essence of the whole process. The Governor-elect in Ebonyi State, Honorable Francis Wifuru, and his deputy, Patricia Obila, have been handed their certificates of return. INEC Commissioner for Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo State, Mr. Ben Okeagu, performed the ceremony at the Commission headquarters in the state. The Governor-elect, Francis Wifuru, while giving his acceptance speech, promised to unite all and tackle challenges affecting critical sectors. Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule and his deputy Emmanuel Akabe have received their certificates of return as Governor and Deputy Governor of Nasarawa State, along with 24 elected members of the State House of Assembly. In an acceptance speech after the receipt, Governor Sule promised to improve the developmental projects in the state. Those are your political roundup stories. It's back to you, Sheon.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. So let's tell you that the Department of State Services, the DSS, says that the plots to set aside the Constitution and install an interim government by what the organization described as misguided political actors is real. The DSS spokesperson today, Peter Afunaya, released a statement where he says the DSS has vowed that the secret police will use all arsenals at its disposal to frustrate such plot. The secret police is also saying that some key players in the plot for an interim government in Nigeria have been identified. In a follow-up statement on earlier today, the DSS had said that they did not quite mention any politician, but they say that some key players are being identified in the plots to cause an interim government in Nigeria. The DSS is also saying that the plot being pursued by these entrenched interests is not only an aberration but a mischievous way to set aside the Constitution and undermine civil rule in Nigeria, warning that such will plunge the country into an avoidable crisis. In a statement by the DSS, they say, quote, the planners in their many meetings have weighed various options, which include, among others, to sponsor endless violent mass protests in major cities to warrant a declaration of state of emergency. Another is to obtain frivolous court injunctions to forestall the inauguration of new executive administrations and legislative houses at the federal and state levels. This particular matter raised by the DSS gets us talking tonight. is a major issue that should concern everyone. What are the intentions of these people who are having these clandestine meetings to achieve an interim government? What does this mean? What are the possible implications of these, and what is the state doing to be able to ensure that there is peace in the land? I'll be getting some insight into that matter and get some expert opinions on this matter. But let's get some insight now. I'm being joined by security expert, in fact, a scholar in violent extremism. Is also a senior fellow with the Tony Blair Foundation. He joins us live from London, Mr. Bulama Bukati. Thank you so much, Mr. Bukati, for joining us tonight. Give us a sense of what this means. Does this raise any kind of worry or tension in the land? Mr. Bukati, it appears you are muted. Could you please unmute?
Thank you very much, Sean. This is a very, very serious matter. As you alluded on the top of your introduction, what the DSS is saying is essentially that some people are planning to wage a war against Nigeria. This move is undemocratic, it is illegal, it is unconstitutional. Section 1 of our constitution is very clear that no, Nigeria cannot be ruled, neither any part of Nigeria can be ruled other than through constitutional means. And the only means recognized by the Constitution is for people to win elections and to be duly inaugurated by the authorities stipulated by law. And therefore, it is unconstitutional. It is also criminal, because what these individuals are planning is potentially what is called treason under our criminal laws, and it is punishable by death. It carries the death penalty, which shows that it is one of the most heinous crimes in Nigeria. Now, of course, the fact that this statement is coming from the DSS gives me hope, but also gives me concern. The concern is that the fact that the statement is coming from the DSS means that this is a very, very serious matter. It is a damn serious matter, because we know that the DSS has never been reckless with statements like this. They are always serious, they are professional in what they are doing, and now that they are coming out with this statement, it shows that they do have hard evidence that some individuals are unfortunately planning to do something untoward, which will throw our country into chaos. Now, the positive side of the statement coming from the DSS is that since it came from them, it shows that the DSS and other security agencies are on top of the matter. And we know that the DSS has always been very good in gathering information and sharing it with authorities. And therefore, what we will call on security and law enforcement agents is to take this intel very seriously and to take all steps within the bounds of the law to rattle this illegal, unconstitutional, anti-Nigerian attempt.
So, I mean, if you look at what this means, so you look at it, they stated it in that statement and said, part of it, the DSS clearly stated that these meetings have been going on for some time, and there are options on the table for these persons. If the DSS is coming out in this manner, it does look to me that they have a lot of intel. They've gathered enough information, and they've been tracking some of these persons. And they said that their plans include, amongst others, to sponsor endless violent mass protests in major cities. And this, according to them, to cause a declaration of the state of emergency in Nigeria. Another one is a frivolous court injunctions to forestall the inauguration of the new executive administration and legislative houses at the federal and state levels. So the question is, you are a lawyer equally. Can anyone get any injunction from any court in Nigeria to stop the inauguration of a government that is elected, or a president-elect, a governor-elect in Nigeria?
So the DSS is talking about two methods, like you said. One is violent mass protest. Let's be clear that protest, which is peaceful, sensible, and orderly, is constitutional, and every Nigerian has a right to stage that kind of protest, including on Inauguration Day. But it has to be peaceful, it has to be sensible, it has to be orderly. However, where protest becomes violent, then it becomes completely illegal. And where the violence is intended to disrupt an inauguration, then it becomes treason that carries, like I said, the death penalty. Now, regarding courts, the law is very clear. The Electoral Act is very clear that no court can give an injunction to stop an inauguration. But unfortunately, Seun, we have seen judges and courts in Nigeria using indiscriminately their power to issue ex parte orders. One example recently was the order that was granted to the two main opposition parties to inspect INEC's materials. That is ordinarily legal. But because the court gave this injunction ex parte, that is, it had only one party for those of us who may not be lawyers, without hearing from INEC and other stakeholders, it ended up giving an order that stopped INEC from clearing the rivers so that governorship elections could take place. And what happened at the end of it? INEC had to go and apply before the court and explain to the court why the injunction it gave is going to stop our elections. Only then did the court vacate that order and allowed INEC to clear the rivers and reconfigure it for the state elections. Now, even at that, INEC had to postpone the election by 1 week. That is one danger of ex parte application. Seun, another example is the June 12th. During the June 12th, court orders, ex parte court orders contributed tremendously in aborting the June 12th, because there were two conflicting court orders. One court gave an order for the counting of the ballots during June 12 to be stopped. That's in the 1992 elections. And another court gave an order that the counting should continue. And at the end of it, the election was annulled by the military administration. That's another case of ex parte injunction playing a role in rattling our country's democracy. And therefore, what I would urge judicial officers to do is to exercise their powers to order or issue ex parte orders judiciously and sensibly. Let them have the interests of our country in mind as they issue ex parte orders. Anything that will stop inauguration or that will disrupt or destroy our democracy must be resisted.
I've since been joined by the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, Alhaji Yabaji Sani. Thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Seun.
So you've seen the part of that statement, which I'd like our viewers to take a look at again. And I mean, the DSS has restated what its fears are. It says that it's gathered enough intel to tell the nation what is in plan of the sleeves of those who calls that they say that those who are mischievous in their ways. That's how the DSS described them. They said these planners in their meetings have weighed various options, which include, amongst others, to sponsor endless violent mass protests in major cities to warrant a declaration of state of emergency. Another is to obtain frivolous court injunctions to forestall the inauguration of new executive administrations and legislative houses at the federal and state levels. How did this come to you in the first place, Alhaji Yabaji Sani?
Well, to say the least, it's an embarrassment, really, because I believe that the DSS, the constitutional, the agency that is in charge of gathering intelligence and then passing intelligence to other agencies that are supposed to take action, and I don't think it serves the purpose of this country for the DSS to come and make these pronouncements in the manner they are making it. What would have made sense to us is that so person is involved, so person has been arrested or is under interrogation, or whatever action has been taken. Not to, okay, what do we do as politicians or as citizens of the country? We can't do nothing.
Could it be politicians behind this?
Well, nobody's above the law.
No, I'm saying, could it be politicians who are plotting
key players in the
So it's
system.
likely to be politicians
but
plot.
whoever the person is, if they know that the person is doing something that is untoward to democracy, that will scuttle what we are, all this process, I think the sensible thing to do, or the lawful thing to do, is to take back the person into custody, ask him questions. They could come out and say that, well, so person has been found to be in this, and we have asked questions, he has been released or whatever it is. But to make these, pronouncements to further create some kind of tension, some kind of crisis, that as if we are not in control of the situation, does not really meet the requirement of what I believe. Let's
assume something here, Alhaji Abajisani.
Yes.
I mean, you are a key opposition voice in this country.
Yes.
You are the chairman of the Interparty Advisory Council.
Yes. Yes.
If there is an arrest of a key political figure within this period, do you think it could raise more tension rather than putting out the information? I'm just looking at the options that the DSS may have weighed.
Yes.
If you arrest these persons, it may create more tension in the land.
Yes.
Okay, let's manage the communication and put in information out there to be able to kill that idea. Between that and this one that you said, which one would have caused more harm?
Well, each one has its own advantage and disadvantage. All I'm saying is that you don't just take somebody and then lock the sub-party. I'm not saying locking up anybody, but it may serve, the purpose of deterrent. If you mention that this person, although I had mentioned in the reports that the DSS, whether DSS or the reporter was just quoting that Deti Baba Ahmed, said something that the president-elect should not be sworn in. So, are they talking about Deti Baba Ahmed? And I don't think the law enforcement officers should shy away from their responsibilities to demonstrate that nobody is above the law. That's the point I'm trying to make. I know that if you start arresting, like you said, opposition politicians, it will send a wrong signal. Maybe to some people they will say maybe it's witch hunting, and then what have you. But a case, look at what happened in the United States, January 6th, when Trump wanted to interfere with the process of inauguration of Biden. Something happened. They took action. So I believe that as much as we give, we commend the effort of the DSS, but I think they should go beyond that, because I as a citizen, what can we do? We can only say, okay, maybe we are in trouble. And then what do you do? So this democracy is too precious, and if there's anybody that should protect and then really advance the cause of democracy, it is the agencies that are put in place to do just that. We have them. The police are there, the DSS, like we say, is there. Even the presidency, they have a role to play, because every agency that we are talking about, they are under the presidency. So perhaps, I don't know, maybe time has come for Mr. President to say something, to rather assure.
Alhaji Sani, that this is not the first time we are hearing interim government. Yeah. Before the election, there were those talks, those who said that there are plans by some elements in the country that elections should not hold in February. And their plans and ultimate agenda is to cause an interim government and to cause chaos in the land. I mean, this is coming up again.
Yes, it's coming up again because the election itself was not conducted in a manner that most Nigerians expected to be conducted. So if anything like this is happening, if people are calling for this kind of undemocratic means of government, it's because the agency that's supposed to conduct elections did not meet the requirement, the expectation of the people. And they raised the expectation of Nigerians too high, and they delivered so little. So this is why, and then nobody, like the DSS or the police or somebody, has come out on the side of the people to say that what these people did is not right. Maybe it hasn't gotten to that, but the point, I'm not in any way supporting the interim, government or whatever undemocratic, system you want to bring to play. But there is responsibility that everybody in the system, supposed to be accountable for. And in our own case as Democrats, we don't want anything that will scuttle what we are doing. Let the process take its course. It's now before the courts. Let the courts come out and do the needful. That is adjudicate, and we are saying the court should not rely on technicalities, because technicalities does not make any sense to an average Nigerian. What it tells Nigerians is that you are trying to hide something, or you are trying to compromise, or favor somebody, in a way that is not in tune with the expectation of the people.
Let me bring back Mr. Bukati into the conversation. The same question I asked Mr. Sani here on the issue of interim government. This is not the first time that it's coming up. It came up before the election. Now it's raising its head again. It's rearing its head again. What could be behind this interim government concept and idea that it keeps coming back? And perhaps how do we deal with it permanently?
Let's be very clear, Seun. An interim government is illegal, is unconstitutional, and has no basis in our laws whatsoever. Like I said on the top, our constitution is very clear under Section 1 that nobody can rule Nigeria, can be the president of Nigeria or any part of Nigeria, unless through the constitutional means. And the only means contemplated by the constitution is an election. No authority in Nigeria has been empowered by law to institute an interim government, whether president or even the courts. No one has this authority. And I was shaking my head when Mr. Sani was making a statement that appears to justify this call for interim government, saying INEC did not do what it should do, that they raised people's expectations. I agree with him completely that there were issues in the last elections, and INEC should learn lessons from that, and that our courts should do the right thing by listening to all parties and giving a fair judgment. But let's be clear, let's not say anything that will justify anything that is released in that DSS statement. We cannot, as Democrats, mince words in condemning any use of unconstitutional ways to institute any kind of government, whether interim or whatever. And therefore, I think Alhaji Sani should revisit his justification. It's completely untenable. This cannot hold water, and it is dangerous.
Well, I'll allow Alhaji Sani to respond, but I'd like to also, because Alhaji Sani mentioned about the approach of the DSS in the manner in which they've released this statement. He believes that it's causing more tension in the land, and I threw up another scenario that could be possible: either arrest some of these elements, which he has laid a background that there's a possibility that these people could be politicians that are planning this. So if there is an arrest of some element, political element in the country, that's an option. How much of damage and hurt that this could be to our already tensed polity, and compared to what the DSS has done today, if you weigh those options, what do you make of the approach of the DSS and these scenarios?
Look, the release of this statement from the DSS, I completely agree, is going to cause tensions in Nigeria, and tensions are already high. And I am sure it's going to send shock waves throughout the country. I was shocked to read that statement and to learn that there are Nigerians who are planning to use unconstitutional ways to disrupt our democracy. That's completely unacceptable. The only two possible rationales for the DSS releasing this statement is, number one, for those who are planning to know that the DSS is putting an eye on them. And you know, when people are unscrupulous, people are planning illegal activity, they would think nobody knows what they are doing. But the DSS coming forward with this statement will send them a warning signal that, look, we are being watched and we will be dealt with seriously if we continue with this plan. Number two, I think that the DSS wants to alert Nigerians, because all of us as Nigerians have a duty, we have a responsibility to protect our democracy and to ensure that there is peaceful transfer of power come 29th May 2023. And so perhaps the DSS is warning Nigerians that this is about to take place. Be vigilant and report anything that you may see that is untoward, so that we may take action. And so my call to Nigerians is to be vigilant, is to be wary, but not to be wary, but not panic or cause anything or take any step that would exacerbate the situation further. Watch out if you saw anything you are not clear about, report it to the relevant authorities so that they may take action.
So, I mean, one will also consider whether or not if the DSS has, because in this kind of scenario, you will wonder that these kind of elements will have cleared their tracks so much if they know that if they are caught, it's going to be, because the implications, according to him, who is a lawyer, said that it's treasonable, and, I mean, the penalties are very severe. So, I mean, allow you to respond to what
Mr. Bokar was saying. He should understand the fact that, I am the chairman of all the national chairmen of political parties, and I must, state the truth, the fact as it is, because some of my members are affected by the way that INEC conducted these elections. Did not go down well with some of the parties, but for good reasons. So I cannot claim that I'm not aware of that. So, and you asked the question, why are people now asking for alternatives? And I said, this democracy is so precious to us. We cannot sacrifice it under any circumstance at all. That I'm not in any way supporting people calling for interim government or whatever other forms of legal, system, of government in the country. But the fact of the matter is that when democracy fails, like I always say, we the politicians, political parties, were the first casualties. But the biggest losers are the people themselves. So this is why I am saying that we are not for anything near interim. And that's why I even cited the case of United States. Trump is still, battling with what he did, which was undemocratic, when Biden was about to be inaugurated or confirmed as the president of that country. So nobody, no Democrat will ever support anything that is outside the process that we have, which is ongoing already. But the truth must be told so that corrections can be effected. That's why I'm saying that when you ask a reason, why are people looking outside democracy, for solutions? Because the system put in place, the umpire did not deliver. And my people are suffering under that kind of shabby, arrangement that we had. If I don't say it, who else will say it?
Do you think that the election was not free and fair?
Well, free and fair, but then, people are the promise that you are going to upload, the system, immediately after the election, the votes are cast and counted, did not take place. And it was selective. So this is the reason why people are not, in any way, for
that presidential election, I guess that's what you're making reference to. How would you rate INEC, for example, 10 being the highest?
How do I rate INEC? I think I wait until after they finish but
you are talking about the manner in which you go, and you said members of the IPAC, or political party leaders, were not happy. So in that regard, compared to elections, this is not the first time that you have been a presidential candidate. You've contested in the past. Compared to, don't let us go too far, 2015, 2019. How would you rate the conduct and the action, the activities of INEC in this election? Particularly on the presidential election, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. How would you rate?
How I would rate is that if you look at the fact of the matter that the same Mahmoud Yakubu conducted the 2019 elections, so he must have acquired some experience, isn't it? And we had from that time until now, and so much money, about $400 billion, naira, was invested in this election. We have technological advancements, that innovations that were brought. People were, were told that this thing will work. It didn't work. So that is the problem. So the fact of the matter is that if you ask me, if zero is the delivery was zero as far as the expectation was concerned. So how do I rate that kind of performance? So the only thing that the saving grace is that this democracy is so elastic that all the mistakes can be corrected. Because it has that robust environment for us to do it.
Yeah, let's take a breather. When we come back, I'll get the closing thoughts of my guest here. But don't forget that the Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment is live with us tonight on the program. I will be looking at, is there possibility of an increase in minimum wage across the land? The federal government has mentioned this idea. Now, if you are in any part of the country, are you still experiencing scarcity of cash, scarcity of fuel? What about electricity tariff? And some of the agitation coming from average Nigerian workers. We'll be dealing with some of these issues with the minister. But I'll come back and get a closing thought from my two guests, Mr. Bulama and Alhaji Yabaji Sani, on the warnings of the DSS on the plot of an interim government and a state of emergency in Nigeria. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. The closing thoughts from my two guests, Alhaji Yabaji Sani, who is the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council in Nigeria. That is an umbrella body for all the political party leaders in the country. And Mr. Bulama Bukati, who is a violent extremist scholar and a lawyer, is a senior fellow at the Tony Blair Foundation in London. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time tonight. I'd like to get your closing thoughts in this, man. Where do we go from here? It appears that some people may not be happy with the outcome of the elections, but then, and it's increasingly causing a lot of stress to the polity. The fabric of the nation is being stretched. People are emotionally and causing ethnic, religious disagreement with people, and you hear those kind of conversation, and it's really causing a lot of trouble. How do we handle this from the security point of view going forward? In fact, this might not have an immediate douse when the new government gets into the office. There must be a technical or a strategic way in handling this. If not, it poses a lot of danger, isn't it?
It does. And I do have 5 recommendations or 5 thoughts regarding how to move forward. Number one, parties who are aggrieved, it is perfectly legitimate to question the legitimacy of an election after an exercise like the one we have witnessed. But the right procedure, the right thing to do if you have any grievances is to approach the courts. It is the courts that the law established to hear grievances, to listen to grievances and give judgments. And these political parties have approached the courts. I would urge them to continue their legal proceedings to their successful conclusion and to shun anything that will disrupt Nigeria's peace and order. That's the first thing. The second thing has to do with Nigerian youth. We need to wise up. We should not allow any politician to use us for illegal or unconstitutional or violent processes or actions. We should understand that this is a criminal offense. Treason is a criminal offense, and if anyone tries to disrupt the inauguration through violent protests or through illegal injunctions, then they are declaring a war on Nigeria, and that is one of the most heinous crimes in the country. Number 3, our security and law enforcement agencies should continue to do their work professionally and within the bounds of the law, and must ensure that they keep law and order in our country and that no one is allowed to disrupt peace in our country for their selfish interests. Number 4, it goes to the question of whether people who have grievances can call for interim government. As I said, interim government, or by whatever name it is called, is illegal, is unconstitutional, has no basis in law, and nobody in Nigeria has a right to institute that kind of government, and therefore we should stop that kind of illegal calls. Finally, I call on Nigeria's international partners, especially Nigeria's Western partners, to take this threat seriously and to make it clear that they would not accept any government that comes into power through unconstitutional means, and they would sanction any individual that is involved in the kind of things the DSS is warning us about. Of course, finally, to President Buhari and the federal government, they have promised to ensure peaceful transfer of power, and they must clamp down on any efforts to disrupt that and to ensure that they fulfill their promise of handing over power peacefully. Of course, political parties that are aggrieved should go to court. They should ventilate their grievances, and it is perfectly legitimate to do so.
Politically speaking, Alhaji Yabaji Sani, how do we handle how do we tame the tension? It's rising and it's probably going to get out of hand if not carefully handled.
Well, Sean, I may have a glass full, person, meaning that I'm optimistic that regardless of the noise, the commotion, and what have you that you are having, believe you me, this democracy we have has the capacity to contain, all the noise and what have you that is happening. What it cannot really, handle is a situation where the agencies of the government that are put in place to guarantee that democracy, succeeds, if they begin to do anything that will undermine the process itself. That's what democracy perhaps cannot accommodate. And here, the government, still have a chance to really, bring back that confidence that people have, had in the process, because it is still the responsibility of Mr. President, that's President Buhari, to ensure that we land softly, on this one, and then in a manner that there will be continuity, and he will have a legacy that he'll be proud of, even long after he has left the scene. So that's we as political parties, believe you me, we don't want to lose this democracy at all. It was through our sweat and blood and everything that we got it. And like I said, the process is normal. What is happening is normal under democracy. We can contain it. That's why most political parties are not happy, are now before the courts. It is now up to the court to step up to the plate and save this democracy too, because all eyes are on the courts now, for them to really do what is necessary to bring that confidence, back into Nigerians, so that we will continue to exist as one great country, which Nigeria is.
All right. Thank you so much indeed for your time. I see that Mr. Bukati was raising his hand. You've got something. You wanted to say something?
No, I wanted to say I completely agree with Alhaji Sani regarding the role of the federal government, but I think the incoming administration, the president-elect and the vice president-elect also have a role. They have made it clear that they would institute a government of national unity that will include all Nigerians. I think they should take the steps to do that, to include every Nigerian and to give every ethnic group and every religion an opportunity to participate in government, and for them to be president and vice president for the whole of Nigeria, not for their party or their region.
I wonder what a government of national unity looks like. Is it a government or across the party lines, or a government that will just naturally be inclusive? Because, of course, the Constitution has stated that you must put people in the cabinet that will represent the inclusion across the country.
No, but in this particular case, they have to go beyond what we're seeing today in this particular government that, is about to go.
Are you saying that they should reach out to other political parties to show inclusion, to extend their hands of fellowship?
President did it, when he came to power, and when we had situations, like this, he reached out to APP at that time, and about, I think 2-3 ministers were given to APP so that to form the government. So it's not...
You think this is possible? A Tinubu-led government can do that? You think so?
Certainly. It's about Nigeria. Okay. The fact of the matter is that, like we said, people are before the courts. That's one thing. And then if President-elect makes the offer, he has done what he's supposed to do.
Right.
It's up to the parties now to take it. If you don't take it, you won't blame it. You don't blame anybody. You won't say you are not given a chance to partake in the building of this country. So I really salute my colleague there, the barrister, because I was going to say it. I just forgot about that, because the national government or the inclusive government at this point in time is necessary.
All right. Thank you so much. Alhaji Sani, National Chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, and Mr. Bulama Bukati. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time tonight. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you, Sean.
Let's thank you very much. And speak about labor issues and the average Nigerian. So the Nigerian Labor Union suspended its planned nationwide strike action and nationwide protest that it planned to picket all central bank offices across the country, including that one in Abuja, over the scarcity of Naira notes and few queues that we see across the country in several filling stations. That plan was stalled when the leadership of the union said that there have been considerable amount of actions to deal with the issues raised. Now, the Ministry of Labour and the federal government had also intervened and had conversations with the labour unions to quell that plan, which could have destabilized the flow of the economy or the activities of government. Well, let's speak with the Minister of Labour and Employment. Senator Chris Ngige is live with us on the program. Thank you so much, Honourable Minister. It's good to see you. And let me begin with the kind of promise that, of course, I like first and foremost, before we even go into these issues, to get your view. You are a member of this government, and the kind of warning that the DSS gave out today, let me get your view on what you make of it.
Well, sure, I'm a part of the government, like you said. I will not have any view or opinion that will be different from that of the DSS. They have issued a warning, so to say. So I think what they did is a step in the right direction. It's something that can be a deterrent if there are such people or such clandestine maneuvers going on. That serves as a warning notice that is known that such a situation exists and that the DSS have their eye on the ball. So it's okay. I have nothing against it.
Oh, so this is perhaps discussed also at the cabinet meeting. Was this raised at all?
No. It's not raised today at the Federal Executive Council meeting. It's a security issue. So it's between the President, Commander-in-Chief, National Security Advisor, and the service chiefs. Yeah.
Well, one of the, some other issues that could be of national security issue is perhaps one of those that you intervene on, and would like to know the promises that you made and what you told the labor leaders, because they said considerably they've seen some actions, but it doesn't look like those actions are already performing wonders with Nigerians in terms of the scarcity of naira notes and fuel scarcity, and of course the electricity tariff is one of the agitations of the labor unions. What did you tell them? What promise did you make to them? And in fact, you know that it's just a suspension. It's not as though that they've killed the idea of the nationwide strike.
Well, Sharon, first and foremost, I think I want to thank the Congress, the NLC, for the matured manner in which they handled the proposed industrial action. Picketing, sit down at home, marching in the streets, and not going to work are all industrial action. Strike, because some workers will have to withdraw their services, is also industrial action. But they sounded a notice in line with Trade Dispute Act, served it to us, and served the CBN. As a matter of fact, the leadership of the NSC now, I have to say, I gave them plenty of kudos when they came, because they followed the normal channel for doing things. They have to notify the Ministry of Labour. The Ministry of Labour is in charge of industrial disputes. Exclusivity is for the Ministry of Labour and the federal government in matters of industrial dispute, no matter how you look at it. Industrial dispute, arbitration, fixing of national minimum wage is an item 34 in the exclusive legislative list second schedule. So they did the right thing. And when they sent their letter, we forwarded it to the CBN governor and said, Governor, hey, look at this. This a potential situation that can degenerate into security threats. So see what you can do. And we monitored it, and we wrote back to the Congress and said action is being taken. And they kept their cool. This thing ended on a Friday. That same Friday, we invited them to a meeting because our contact at the CBN shows that the CBN has started reaching out also to them. So the governor of the CBN also did, he did it right. He did it right. Because in some cases, you give a proactive notice to people, some employers or some other persons, and they keep quiet. What is at stake there is a dispute of interest and a dispute of rights that have been mixed together by the labor union. The labor union know what they are doing, because if they had said it's only for Nigerian masses and the policy itself, then it becomes a dispute of interest. But they now said, oh, our workers can't perform, they are suffering, they can't even go to their work because they don't have the money to transport themselves and things like that. So it becomes a dispute of interest and a dispute of right mashed together. So I think they did well, and we discussed very well, because before then they have started some discussions with the governor and his officials, and so when we came, each party gave an account of what they have done. The governor said we have since Thursday, Friday, punched in more cash to the money deposit banks, the commercial banks, and they are dispensing them. We have even asked them also to work on Saturdays, Sundays, and they showed evidence. Even the NSC said, yes, our field operations people have also told us that things are easing. And that was it. We now agreed that we both will monitor the situation and continue dialoguing. So the issue of picketing and disputes, we put them aside. Then agreed that we can then be dialoguing, which is one of the social instruments in industrial disputes. So we've given out strike and opted for dialoguing. That's what we're doing. And rightly, they have called back their organ, the particular organ that gave them the mandate to call out everybody on an industrial action after Friday if the CBN doesn't respond. They called them back, and yesterday they met, and everybody gave the report. The people are coming from states and local government, so they all come back in Abuja and gave their various reports. And the reports are the same, that money is now coming out.
All right.
I have also directed the labor controllers in the states to look at the situation and also report to us.
Yeah.
So that's
Minister, let's get straight to the point. And the fact is that Nigerians are not looking forward to a mid-gap measure. They are not looking for an interim measure. They are looking for a permanent fix to these problems. Talking about the scarcity of cash and the fuel scarcity. For almost a year or more, Nigerians have been sleeping at fuel stations trying to get fuel into their cars. Electricity tariff has been an agitation of the labor union. So are there permanent measures that the government has put in place to fix these problems?
Shaun, you know, the government is in its twilight. We're going. The government is going. But the labor union know that we had a joint committee on electricity and fuel importation and fuel distribution. That committee is not dead. That committee is still working. The NSC, Ministry of Labor, and the relevant ministries, and the Pengasin and TUC leadership, we are all in this particular joint committee. That committee is headed by Minister of State, Festus Kayamo, and the committee is still alive. So there is nothing like a stopgap measure, no. It's not a stopgap measure. Even the one on the cash crunch is part of the cashless policy. It's a cashless policy that is coming on. Its implementation that ran into a hiccup is not smooth. So the CBN is trying to smoothen it out. But that doesn't detract from the fact that you are trying to do a cashless policy in such a way that the volume of cash in circulation will not be what it used to be. They said it was about 3 trillion or thereabout, and they want to cut it down. Yes, cutting it down is part of that cashless policy. Some of us travel abroad. You bring out cash abroad, and people are looking at you and staring at you as if you are coming from Mars, because they're not used to people bringing out cash. If you're bringing out cash, you're either a drug peddler or you are a man who is doing Yahoo or something like that. You're not doing a clean business. In fact, they regard anybody bringing out cash and doing cash business as somebody who is doing laundering, cash laundering, money laundering. That is the first thing that occurs to them. So even here, there are temporary relief we've gotten from kidnapping, from banditry, people asking you to go and deposit 50 million cash for them in the bush, for them to take and release somebody. The thing has abated, it has gone down. So it's not a policy that is bad, no. It's the implementation. It should have a transition. It should be done gradually. But I think what happened was that there was a compression in terms of the time. But luckily, the Supreme Court have said, do till December 31. And the CBN agrees, everybody agrees. So we're all working towards that period. There is no way we will go back to the old time when people carry 100 million cash and they go bring it into the market or into wherever and do business with it. No. This policy is erase that. They want to get it out. In fact, when you are using cash now, it should be cash for things that have little value, little volume, for money. If you're buying fruits, if you're buying some condiments from marketers who don't have accounts, everybody should now try to use an account. Even right now, as we speak, when our vehicles want to go and fuel, they do a POS or whatever.
Minister,
the chief driver in my
Minister,
company,
apologies.
my chief driver pays.
Yeah, Minister, apologies to cutting. So let me list a few things to you, Honorable Minister. I know that, as an elite in the society, some of these issues might not be staring you in the face, but these are some of the analyses that have been made by economic experts. These are the direct effect and impact of the cashless policy that you mentioned and the scarcity of naira notes that have come afterwards, and in fact the issue of the scarcity of fuel. Now, economic experts have listed some of these direct impact. They said that it has worsened the already highly impacted poor cost of living of Nigerians. It has impacted on the flow of goods. It has reduced consumer spending. It has caused low sales for traders. It has depleted productivity in Nigeria and has worsened inflation that is already bad in that situation. And I'd like to ask you, as a member of the federal cabinet, how embarrassing is this for your government? For those who think that, did you do your prognosis properly before coming out with a policy like this, that Nigerians are already groaning under this very hardship that they are experiencing, economic hardship in the land, and you come up with this policy? What cushion are you giving to Nigerians because of what has impacted on their daily living?
Well, Sean, what you read out are not as bad as it's been said. Yes, people in the rural areas and people who don't believe in the banking system are those that have been talked about now. So perhaps what the banks will need to do, the CBN will need to do, is to ask their money deposit banks to get more into the rural areas.
But Honorable Minister, apologies to cut in again.
I said by telling you.
When you say things are not bad,
I told you again that
I'm concerned about the sensitivities of the millions of Nigerians that you're speaking to tonight. When you say things are not as bad, and I'm not stating things that I'm feeling personally, because I'm not allowed to express my personal opinion or my personal emotion about this matter. But I'm asking you, based on what experts have reeled out, when you say that things are not as bad, how bad do you think things are? Are you really feeling what Nigerians, the average Nigerians, are feeling? And that's going to be a big question, isn't it?
I'm feeling it, Sheung. I've told you already that I can't buy fuel. I don't do POS and all those things. But I have people working with me who are doing POS. I use them to buy those things that I cannot, and then later they get a transfer. So all I'm saying is that the policy took everybody by surprise. I don't know whether to say it by surprise or that it didn't give enough time, because they gave us the warning last year, about 3 months. And so I'm not really saying that there is no suffering in the land with it. There is some pain. But I'm a physician. I give you chloroquine, it's bitter. You take it to get well when you have malaria.
Well, is it not embarrassing?
I jab you.
Minister,
I jab you.
Is it not embarrassing?
Listen,
the government is in place to relieve the pains of the people, not to add to it. Is it not embarrassing that you create a policy that Nigerians are groaning under?
Shehu, I have told you that the policy is not smooth in implementation. I admitted that. But whether it's a good policy, yes, it's a good policy. That's all I'm telling you. There will be no intimidation about it. We will say what is right. You travel abroad. You came back from America the other day. Did you carry $10,000 or $20,000, more than $10,000 in your bag? You can't. If you take it, you declare it. You must declare it in America. And once you declare it, or even UK, you must declare anything more than $10,000. And once you start spending big dollars like that, some shops will even refuse to take it from you. Why can't we get our country like that? But it's a gradual process. I have agreed, and I said it will take time. It wasn't smooth, so it came with some pain. But overall, did we get some sound benefits from it? Yes, we did. We did. People didn't buy votes on the line during the elections. I used to go for elections, and I know what I see. There was no cash exchange for votes. It wasn't easy anymore. Kidnappers are on break now, they're on strike, so to say, or recess. We don't see them. Bandits, they have also gone on some holidays. If you take people from some homes, they will tell you that they can't even gather 1 million to give you. How much more asking them to come and bring 20 million to get back somebody they kidnapped? So these are some of the things. Don't also forget that NFIU, the World International Financial Intelligence Unit, they have put Nigeria on a list of where the countries that are not doing well in terms of money laundering, in terms of dirty money, and the rest of them all. Shall we continue to wear that toga? We must start a journey someday, and it's a journey of 1,000 miles. It must start with one step.
All right, Minister.
This is the first step.
Yeah, let's take
maybe that first step is not very good enough. Yeah. But it's a step taken in the right direction.
Yeah, let's take a breather. Perhaps for those who live in the neighborhoods of those who are feeling the pinch and these hardship, might be able to tell a more vivid picture of what things are. But people are really going through a hard time because of these policies. You need to see the very violent pictures of what has happened.
The money is coming out. It's gradually coming out. I'm not an
but the question
expert,
is that should we have gone through an unnecessary pain? That is one big question. But we'll shift attention away from that, and we'll talk about the benefit for the average Nigerian, whether or not they should be expecting an increased minimum wage. We'll be asking the Honorable Minister when we return from this break, everyone. Join us again. So much everyone for staying with us on the program. Honorable Minister for Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, has been speaking with us on the state of the nation, and especially what could bring food on the table of an average Nigerian and the standard of living. Let's get to this issue. I know that your government is at its twilight, and you've said that as much, but there is something that you mentioned earlier this year, about 2 months ago, when you said that the federal government is working to review the minimum wage. You also said that the federal government is working to fast-track that process to see that it happens in May. What news can you tell Nigerians? How much are you looking at? What is the figure you're looking at? And is it possible that that could come into effect, or you get it to somewhere before you leave office on 29th of May?
Okay, Shengu, your question is double-barreled. I never said it's a no minimum wage that we're giving. What I said, actually, I think that was in January or so, or December, January, that the federal government is looking at giving people in the public service a pay raise to take care of the increased cost of living. And that is correct. In the Presidential Committee on Salaries, we have done something for the civil servants. That's the hardcore civil servant, or those who are on what we call consolidated public servant scales, COMPS is called. It's for public, it's civil servants, and some corporations, MDAs that are on that COMPS. COMPS is the salary scale for civil servant. So we have handled it, we made our recommendation, we put a percentage for President to approve. We have approved it at our own committee level. And we said it should take effect from January 1. We have a provision in the budget for it, in the 2023 budget. So we're not afraid of saying, Mr. President, we need you to look at this and approve it. The money is been appropriated under the service-wise route for payment for such. So that is number one. So whenever that approval is gotten, the civil servants or those on COMPS, because some agencies of the federal government are on COMPS and earning what the civil servants are earning, all those agencies, all the civil servants will get that pay raise. It's a peculiar allowance for them to cushion the effect of inflation, increase in cost of living, increase in transportation, increase in housing, increase in electricity and other utilities. That's what money is supposed to be. It takes effect from January 1, 2023. Again, some corporations, agencies of government, taking a cue from this, we have approved also for them in Presidential Committee on Salaries different percentage of pay raise depending on the particular peculiarity of the organization. If you're working in MPA, we are giving MPA a pay raise. They are getting that one since the last one they got in 2013. It has taken effect from January 1, 2023. NIMASA, ditto. Some other organizations, FIRS and the rest of them all, they are going to give pay raise to their people to take care of this particular increase in cost of living, general cost of living. I mentioned the compartments where we looked at housing, transport, energy, food prices, and all the rest of them. So that's one aspect of your question. Second leg of your question, minimum wage. We did a minimum wage negotiation in 2018, ended it in 2019. More than 1 year. And one of the beauty of what we did at that time, Ama people headed the committee, I deputized and co-chaired with her. It is a tripartite discussion involving public sector, private sector, state governments who are big employers, because the people we are talking, most of the people we are talking about are the employee of the state government, and then the private sector. So we got everybody, Employers Association, NECA, Small and Medium Scale Industries, Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, NASIMA, and everybody. We met for 1 year plus, about 15 months, and then authored the minimum wage that went to National Assembly, but it was tinkered there, and we all came out with 30,000 as minimum wage, an increase from 18,000 that was done by the Jonathan government to 30,000, 66.3% rise. That's what it was, from 18 to 30. Now, we entrenched in that bill or law that came out from it that minimum wage will now have an automaticity of review every 5 years.
After 5 years, yeah.
So from 2019, every 5 years. So from 2019, when it came into effect, to 2024 will be 5 years. But we also made a recommendation in our document and which we submitted to government and the law, that the discussion, the negotiation should start 1 year from May 2024, when it's supposed to kickstart or take effect. So I'm envisaging that from May 2023, as from May 2023, which is this year, the government will empanel the new minimum wage review committee for the nation. So in my handover note and in my transition committee report, which I have submitted and which we are going to hand over to the transition committee and the next government, I'm recommending that the discussion starts anytime from May 2023. It's envisaged that the committee, they will work well because they will work fast. They will see the template we used and the organs that assisted us, National Salary, Incomes and Wages Commission, a vital organ of government that deals with everything about wages and salaries.
All right.
They are part of it. In fact, they always host the secretariat, and so they will get a review, and 2024. The
indices,
will have a new.
The indices upon which the Minimum Wage Act of 2019 was hinged on, a lot of water has gone under the bridge. Those indices, the inflation rate at about that time was about 10%, but now is over 20%. So the indices are different. So just briefly, if you can tell Nigerians, if you are to suggest a new minimum wage, what figure do you think might fit? Considering that Greece is talking of a new minimum wage in that country of 780 euros from April 1. And you look at nearby Ghana. Ghana has about 14 cedis. That's about $1.25 per day minimum wage. Angola, $68 per month as minimum wage. In South Africa, $1 per hour as minimum wage. What figure do you think makes sense for today Nigeria for an average worker?
Shego, you are trying to make me preempt the work of a committee.
No, I'm just asking you. Yeah, I'm just asking you to tell Nigerians.
No.
If your government really have,
I can't
understand the predicament of the average Nigerian, do you?
We do. But what I can tell you is that whatever is being paid in Ghana Nigeria will not detract from something around it. or even more. We can do better. Why? In the last committee, we put country by country as part of the parameters with which we worked. So it will be the same thing now. Like I told you, salaries, incomes, and wages, they're still there. It's a very vital government arm for wage discussions, salary review, and the rest of them all. So we are going to take, they are going to take, not we, because I will be out by then, they are going to take all these parameters you're bringing out, the inflation, moving from 10% to now 20%, they will put everything in a holistic basket.
All right, Minister.
And weight it together. So come out with even the money, because just wait a minute, if the petroleum subsidy is removed and the government is able to save from subsidy alone about 300 billion minimum a month, of course, government will do the needful. All right,
Minister, we're out of time, but let me ask you. So you've spent 2 terms as the minister in charge of labor and employment. I mean, your government has planned, you gave out a plan to say that you will get about 10 million new jobs for 10 years. That's one of the plans that your government has said. You are the minister in charge of employment. But let's look at it. And perhaps for those who have criticized your government as a failure in that regard, I'd like to get your reaction to it. When your government came into power, the unemployment rate stood at 8.19%. The unemployment rate, it's about 33.3%, if not higher right now. For those who say that your government is a failure in that respect, how do you respond to them?
Well, again, I laugh when you say failure. Let me tell you, unemployment was about 8.9 or 9% thereabout when we came. Sharon, what was the Nigerian population at that time? Population. It has increased. At least nothing by about 15% by UN indices. What was the cost of petroleum, the monoproduct for Nigerian economy? $120 a barrel of oil. What was the volume? 2.2 million barrels a day. What did our government get when we came? There's a melting from 2.2 million barrels a day to 1 million barrels a day, and at one point even $500,000 barrels a day. Price of oil again moved, oscillated and went down to $80, from $80 to 70, 60, 50, at one point $30 a barrel. And even during the COVID period, we couldn't sell. But no earning. We are negative.
Minister, is that an excuse?
We are very negative. No.
Have driven the rates.
Listen.
You did not. It went not only to about 20. It went to over 30%, Minister. I mean, and you have said this for almost 8 years that is the reason. But the question here again is, just a moment.
No, we didn't tell you we're creating
how many jobs were you? How many jobs were you able to create in 8 years? How many?
We said we are lifting people from poverty in 10 years.
How many people were you able to lift out of poverty? Because the multidimensional figure of poverty that was released was way over 130 million people in Nigeria, multidimensionally poor.
Well, that's what it is. We suffered a force majeure. A force majeure was suffered by COVID.
But I mean,
the economy. We went into 2 recessions. Talk about it. How many governments before us went into recession? It wasn't caused by us. We tried as much as we could. Stopped the food importation. We did other thing. We grew what we ate and made sure we kept the country afloat. We didn't have the eruptions you had.
All right, Minister, we are totally out of time now. Yeah.
Because Venezuela economy is like our own.
Yeah.
So you should give us some kudos. We tried our best. Other people will come in. Maybe you will join them in that cabinet, and you people come and try your best. We wish you luck.
I love my job very well. I said it that I may be a journalist for life, but this is what we are being called. This is a calling for some of us. But thank you so much, Honorable Minister. The figures are the ones, and your critics are the ones calling you a failure in this respect. If you've made promise and the figures are not rhyming, the figure coming from your own government, those who are out on the street without jobs are the ones asking and saying,
don't permit the government to do what they are proposed to do, too bad.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Senator Chris Ngige, Minister of Labour and Employment. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it. Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Okimale. I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. God bless Nigeria.